We are recording with the one and only Dr. John Witcher, who came on here a minute ago. Today's Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 5:09 p.m., 5:08 p.m. Eastern time. I think you came on in 2021, so it's been a while since we've spoken, but we tried last week and you said you were running for the governor of Mississippi. So with that, Dr. Witcher, for all the people that I checked last night. I think you came on in episode 586. This is episode 1191. So
Okay,
it's been
it's
a
been a
little while.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dr. Witcher, could you please introduce yourself?
yeah. Well, my name is Dr. John Witcher. I'm a medical doctor in Mississippi. Been born and raised in Mississippi, and so I've been a medical doctor here for over 25 years. I'm a country doctor, general practitioner, but primarily been focused in ER work. I'm a ER doctor. Definitely over the last 10 years, I spent all my time as an ER doctor. But before that, I've been a primary care doctor, family doctor, that sort of thing. And so I worked all over little towns in Mississippi. As a young doctor, I started Mississippi Physician Services, which was a company where we staffed doctors primarily in these little ERs around Mississippi. And so that's what I've been doing. And when COVID hit, I was contracted with a hospital in Yazoo City and started seeing COVID patients right off the bat early in 2020. Up to this point, I've seen hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands at this point of COVID patients, both as inpatients and as outpatients. So I'm very well accustomed to treating COVID patients, and so and that's really what got me involved in politics. To be honest with you, I mean, my wife and I started Mississippi Against Mandates, which is a 501c3 corporation. We started that in the fall of 2021 when the government started forcing everybody to get COVID shots, including ourselves, hospital workers. And so many of us in the hospital had not been vaccinated. And so we grouped together, stood up, started protesting. We put billboards up. We went to the streets, had marches. We had rallies in the parks. We brought in other doctors. We brought in Dr. Peter McCullough, for example, to Mississippi. And he spoke to a group of 400 or 500 folks. We brought in Dr. Chancey Chung Lindsay and many others, and doctors from around the state. We just grouped together and pushed back. We said no to these vaccine mandates, and we helped many folks get exempted from the vaccines in Mississippi. But despite all that we did, many Mississippians lost their jobs because they just couldn't get the exemption. And so we're upset over that. And that's, Kate Reeves is our governor. He's a Republican governor, but and I voted for him. I campaigned for him. He lived across the street from me before he was governor. So I know him well. And I've been trying to get him from day one. Many of his constituents have been trying to get him to listen. And he's just not, he's a career politician. He's been in there for 18 years. He's 45. He started when he was 27 as our state treasurer for 8 years, and then he was our state lieutenant governor for 8 years, and now he's been our governor for a couple of years. And so he's a career politician. He's a compromiser, and we have a lot of folks in our state government and our government doctors, our state health officers, for example. He is not on our team, and so he was on the Dr. Fauci CDC team. The Biden White House mandates were pushed down, and he pushed them very hard in Mississippi. And so our governor would not stand up, push back against him. And so that's primarily why I'm running it for governor. There's 3 states in the United States right now that the governorships are running this year. It's Kentucky, Louisiana, and Mississippi. And so we want a patriotic freedom fighter here in Mississippi. We think the nation needs more and more governors to stand up, like we've seen in Texas and Tennessee and Florida. We're very excited about what's happened in Florida in the last 3 years. The Florida governor hired a very good man down there, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, to be the Surgeon General, and he's led that state, and that's why they're now known as the Free State of Florida, and that's what we want to be, the Free State of Mississippi.
Beautiful answer. Yeah, I was I was lucky enough to have Dr. Latipo on here once before. Um, that's and if I remember, that's I think the first time it was back when I was in Maryland. I remember I was on the treadmill. I think when you and I first spoke, and we talked for like an hour on the phone or something through Dr. McCullough, and you were talking about just that and how disappointing it was that Mr. Reeves was kind of shoveling this through. And is that in itself, is that just, I guess, a nature of being a career politician, or is that he put his finger up and decided which way is the majority going? Is that is that something that just happens? You said he's a compromiser. Is that maybe something that just happens after you've been in there for several years? And is that why it needs to constantly be renewed with a new person? Or do you have to have a monumental change like this where there are vaccine injuries and deaths and it's being mandated from the government and an individual like yourself just has to step up and fill the seat?
Yeah. Well, I think it's all the above, Tommy. I mean, he's been there too long. He's part of the system. He compromises. This is not his first time he's compromised. He did it right off the bat when he got in as the governor, and he made some promises to Mississippians, some things he wouldn't do, and he turned around and did them right away. So he's known as, he's not a favorable governor. If I didn't do anything, I'd probably get 20 or 30% of the vote. It's basically me and him running on the Republican ticket, and then there's a Democrat that's running. But I don't believe, I don't believe a Democrat can win Mississippi. So it'll be out of me and Tate Reeves. There is one other gentleman run on the Republican ticket, but he's not very well known or out there. But so yeah, I mean, I think it's just he is, he's a career politician. He's the status quo. He's not going to rock the boat. He straddles the fence. He kind of, sees which way the wind's blowing, and kind of, he just doesn't, he's not going to shake things up.
Hmm. So what would you be able to do then as governor? Is this purely from, do you want to go in there and affect change in terms of vaccine mandate policy and what it already exists, or is there sort of a grander idea than even that for you? Just
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a true conservative.
Mhm.
I'm I believe in the Constitution. I grew up in the Ronald Reagan years. In the 80s. I was 14 when Ronald Reagan got elected, and I guess 22 when he left office. And so, I really, that's the time I grew up. It was a time in America that we were very patriotic. We flew our flag proud. We believed in America. We believed that we were the land of the free and the home of the brave. And we believed that we were that city on the hill shining the light to the world of freedom. I still believe that. I'm optimistic. I believe that, but I'm also, I'm a realist, and we're falling fast. In the last 35 years since Reagan's left, our country we've fallen, and certainly over the last 3 years, we're falling quickly, and we have to, it requires a heroic effort by the people at this point, to come forward, and it's we the people that have to rise up, and I think I will be their voice. I'll be their strong voice on the platform for our state to push back, to say it's not going to be the government that's going to save us. It's going to be we the people, and we have to trust in what we know to trust in best here in Mississippi, and that's in God. And God we trust. We take that serious here in Mississippi. That's just not a slogan. That's the way we live our life.
And I do think that there is true value in that because it allows you to stand up to really the federal government, right? So you'd be directly interfacing with them as a governor, right? And it's very easy to puff your chest out and say, oh, I'm 32 and I'm in an apartment. I can be like, screw the Biden administration. It's very easy for me. I'm not interfacing with, the most powerful people on the planet. You would be, and I would imagine, and I wouldn't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe I would too. I would imagine a lot of individuals cave when they actually get to that spot. And I think that is the importance of not solely a belief in the United States, but a belief in a higher power, is that allows you to look something like the federal government in the eye and not be stupid. Know that they are lethally serious, but to stand, because you can say you love Mississippi all day, and then all of a sudden you get some blackmail threats or something. I think that's where the belief in God comes in, is you have a greater fear than the federal government. Is that correct? Am I putting words in your mouth?
Oh no, you're not putting words in my mouth. I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, in God we trust is, that's like I said, it's not a slogan. It's, it's taken directly from the Bible. You can find it in the Old Testament and the New Testament. I trust in God and God alone. No, I don't fear man. I don't fear what man can do to me. So I feel I'm called and I'm on a mission. And I believe that that's the major problem with our government right now, is that they I believe God is the only one that can save us, and the government believes that's the only thing that's keep holding us back. So we're as far apart as you could be. And so yeah, that's I'm not going to be able to compromise with them on any level, because everything they're pushing, this whole woke agenda, this is not just in schools where they're pushing, it's all about division.
Hmm.
It's about dividing us and conquering us, whether it be critical race theory and these race wars, and teaching our children that this country's evil. These are all lies. And you got to look at it closely, because in every lie there's always truth wrapped in there. But these this LGBTQ agenda, these are fringe minority ideologies. They're trying to indoctrinate our children instead of educating them with basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're indoctrinating them with things that really just make no sense. It's not common sense. There's not multiple sexes. There's only a man and a woman. There's not. Men can't have babies.
No, they
You know,
can't.
and so so these are things that we're going to push back and push back hard against, because it's just this is not what we as Middle America and Mississippians believe in.
Now, and I can't speak for you. Um, but as a conservative myself, I think that, an initial attack will often be, well, why are you against LGBTQ? And I'm not. No part of me is. One of my best friends, one of my most people I respect most of my life is a gay man, a happily married gay man. And it's not that I don't necessarily think children should be being taught this. I don't think children should be taught anything of a sexual nature. Not only should it not be a man and a man, but you shouldn't be teaching a 10-year-old about intercourse. They should be learning algebra. And that's
Right.
what it is there's this straw man attack about, you don't want to teach children. No, I don't want to teach them about anything. The same way my parents would have marched down to school, whether it was a man and a man or a man and a woman, they would have said, "What the hell are you doing? This kid's 9 and has braces and a bowl cut. Teach
Yeah.
him social studies. Teach him about
Right.
Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims." And that's, once you're an adult, you're an adult. And, you do what you want. And I firmly believe that the government has, not only does the government have no right to tell me I can't own a gun, I also don't think it has any right to tell me that if I, a 32-year-old man, want to marry another man, I'm allowed to do that. I think the importance is when you are trying to indoctrinate children, and then furthermore, when it's not simply enough that it's under the facade of progression and tolerance, but really, as you said, it's the 10,000-year-old tactic of divide and conquer. I've never had a problem with a gay person in my life, but they want you to feel like you two hate each other, because if these two people are arguing, it's so much easier to control the population. So at its core is this is a power grab, and it's rooted in self-hatred. America's bad. You're bad. You're white. You should be ashamed of yourself. Those are all things that I don't want to teach children, not because I'm a bigot, It's because those are horrible things to teach children, to hate each other and to hate yourself. It's just that's not a good thing to teach a child. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I've got three grown kids of my own. My oldest son is 34, and he's now married, and he's got two kids. And then I have another son that's 29. He's married and has a child, or getting ready to have a child. Then I have a daughter that's 28, and she's married and has a child. And then I have a stepson that's 28. And I raised my kids. My boys and my daughter. I mean, I'm like what you mentioned. I don't believe children they're going to be taught about sex education. Their parents should be teaching them, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I personally took a simple approach in that as they were age appropriate, but I taught my children not to have sex till they got married.
Sure, and that's your
And
right as a parent.
And if they made the mistake, I told my boys, if they made the mistake of getting a girl pregnant before they got married, then guess what? They were going to get married.
Yeah,
And so I told them, just so anytime you lay down with a woman, just know, be careful, make sure it's somebody that you want to marry.
hmm.
And, that's how I approached it with them. And that may be a little harsh, but I think that's one big problem we have in America is that unwed mothers, it's broken families. And that's really what the enemy's after with
Hmm.
all this agenda. It's about breaking up families. A solid family is what has made America and Mississippi great in that, it's a unit. I mean, there's no greater love than amongst family members. Yeah, we're all dysfunctional, but we love one another, and a father protects and mother nourishes, and we all grow together. And it's just, when you don't have a family unit, you don't have a civilization. We can look around the world and see where the civilizations are crumbling. It's because they don't have a strong family unit. So that's what the enemy wants to do. So they use this LGBT stuff to say, they're just to divide us. I mean, that's a very minority group, and I'm like you. I've never have been against any gay person. I've treated lots of gay patients over the years. I've had a lot of gay friends over the years and
Sure,
lesbian friends. I mean, this is, it's part of life, but
sure.
there's still a minority of folk. And I'm all for adults. I mean, God gives us all freedom to choose whichever way we want to live, but we need not to, if we don't want to support that, I think the majority of the people do not want to support it, and their tax dollars to support it.
Sure.
And then certainly we don't want our kids to be indoctrinated with things that confuse them, such as different sexes and different pronouns and I mean, it's just not common sense. And this is coming from the healthcare field as well. The healthcare is they're woke, just like our educational system, our all of our systems, right? Justice system, even our financial institutions are all woke. I mean, pretty soon with the ESG and the
Hmm.
central bank digital currency, if you're not fully on board with their woke agenda,
You're done.
then you're done. They'll have a social credit score for you, just like the ESGs are social credit scores for these corporations. So
Hmm.
we're getting into a world that's bizarre, to say the least. And so we want to right the ship, and we can do it. Here in Mississippi, the majority of folks here are common sense. They love God. They love their country. They love their families. They love their way of life. And so we just need a governor that'll stand up and push back against the whole agenda of tyranny, all the way from the healthcare field, educational, even defunding the police. I mean, who would even, it doesn't even make common sense. I mean, we live in a world where there's criminals. We love our police officers. We back the blue. We teach our children that, if you get pulled over by the police officer, you say, yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and how can I help you? You
Yeah.
don't you don't, you don't resist arrest. So anyway, common sense.
No, it's yeah, no, my parents are my mom was much more strict and Catholic and my dad was a little more hands off. But I mean, they both used to say, if you get a girl pregnant, they're like, you're dropping out of school and you're flipping burgers and you're supporting them. They're like, mom and dad
Yeah,
ain't coming. So it was very much like you go, and went off to college and I've made my mistakes. I've gotten too drunk. I've done stupid stuff and you learn and you go, maybe that's not for me. And eventually I came back to my own sort of center of praying and of going to bed early and of reading on my own. And that's for me. But the reality is I had the choice. And again, I don't care if gay, go for it. I don't care.
yeah,
It shouldn't be state tax dollars and it shouldn't be forced on children. That's it's hands off of kids. It is don't push this on anyone. And again, you have to respect your enemy. They've they've draped themselves in an eloquent veil of, you know, they look at us and go, they're conspiracy theorists. They call it central bank digital currency and ESG and DEI, and it's a totalitarian control system. And we just want progressiveness. No, what it really is a group of people at the very top who know what they're pushing is insanity, but they don't care. It's no different than holding a child so you don't get shot during a police situation. It doesn't make
yeah,
you brave. It makes you a coward. You should be
yeah,
able to do whatever you want. That is, God didn't give you free will to be a marionette. God gave you free will to go out and live. And you make mistakes and you make regrets and you feel bad and you learn and you grow. But the idea of forcing this on children is that's a line that I can't go. I can't step back and say, you do you, man. No, at a certain point, you have to step in as an adult and go, you're pushing this on a 9-year-old.
yeah.
You can't do
And,
that.
no, and that's where we found out here in Mississippi that we have a sex change clinic right here in our one state funded medical teaching hospital. And they were taking children and giving them hormone therapy and even sex changes, surgical sex changes. And so we didn't know about this clinic. That we found out about this clinic last year. And the way we found out about it is this clinic sponsored a drag queen striptease show out in our local park, in our capital, and made headline news and the whole works. These were grown men that looked like men, that were men, dressed up like women and stripped down to their G-string, dancing out in public. And a lot of people there, including children, because there were there was more than just this clinic that sponsored them. There were local banks and different companies. And I have a problem with that. I mean, first of all,
Yes.
best, it's indecent exposure. At worst, it's child abuse. And
Yes.
so our group, Mississippi Against Mandates, we have one particular doctor he's also an ordained minister. He wrote a long letter to all of our politicians, and we all signed it. And he basically ended it with, it's better to ended it with the Bible verse. It's better to put a millstone around
Around your
someone's
neck
neck and
and
throw in the deep than to hurt a child.
hurt
And
these little
so
ones.
because of that, we were able to get a law passed in Mississippi that says any doctor that gives hormone therapy or does surgery on anybody less than 18 loses their medical license, which
Yes.
that's good, but our governor could have done more. We wanted that clinic closed, and it should be closed because we just don't feel like that's first of all, I mean, there's so many things involved there. These doctors don't want to tell these children can come to the doctors and teachers as well. The teachers and doctors are not, they can keep from the parents this secret of the identity that the child claims. Okay. We find this to be a problem because, I mean, children can be so easily persuaded into whatever, and they don't know. I mean, I have a friend of mine. He said when he was a kid, he wanted to be a pirate.
Yeah.
Thank God his doctor didn't let him, or he'd have
Have
one eye and
peg
a
leg.
peg leg at this point. Children are, so we have a problem with that. We have a problem with the whole situation of training, of indoctrinating and training these kids on, and and you had mentioned, we do believe that it comes from the top, this whole system, but a lot of these people, especially these young children and even these young adults, they don't know really what the whole, they're being fooled, right?
Well, yeah.
Coerced into believing this misinformation or disinformation, whatever you want to call it, but it's lies. Because well, I mean, I'm sure you've been seeing some of these people that are coming out now in their 20s and 30s, total regret for what happened to them. I just listened to a podcast yesterday for about an hour. This poor gentleman, I believe he was in London. He's just, I think he's late 20s now. I mean, he grew up gay, struggling with his identity there, started going to doctors. They convinced him he was a transgender, that he should be a female. And so he ended up having the surgery, and it didn't go well. And now he's late 20s, and he never really wanted the surgery to begin with. I mean, he went through his whole story. They coerced him, they pressured him. I mean, he backed out of it like 3 times, and they kept bringing him back and coaching him and trying to convince him that was what he needed. Of course, there was money involved always. He had to, he used all the money he could scrape together, working and borrowing and whatnot. And I think the state helped support him some too over in Europe. But fact of the matter is, he's got lots of complications. He got the full surgery down there, and he has lots of complications. He's having problems urinating. He's having problems, having bowel movements. There's pain, scarring, etc. He's had lots of infections. So, they didn't tell him about all the risk. They said, "Oh, you'll just be a happier person. All your depression and your OCD-ness will go away," and it didn't. So, he's just one story out of many out there. And because, really, this has not been really done a lot until the last 10 years. But the last 10 years, I think more and more doctors all over the world are doing these sex changes and hormonal changes and giving to these young folks. And, I'm praying it's going to backfire. I think it will, so we're going to push to stop it in Mississippi 100%. But it's not easy, because the medical community, all the way from the American Medical Association, all the way down through all the organizations, all the way to the state level, believe that, transgender is, surgery and hormone therapy is the rights. But, I'm here to tell you that a lot of it just boils down to big money for these pharmaceutical companies, because they're patients for life, and then big money for these hospitals and doctors. I mean, it's very lucrative.
It's pure evil.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's, again, man, you're an adult and you want to do that, go wild.
Yeah.
But that is nothing short of if it's not just abuse. I mean, that's evil. That's something you hear about on a documentary about a serial killer.
Yeah.
Because that's someone who's literally scarred for life. And you took the malleable, innocent mind of a child. Yeah, you want to be a pirate. My brother wanted to be a dinosaur. Like, yeah, then that's the beauty of being a kid. You pat him on the head. But if you ever start to go, hey, I'm gonna go become a dinosaur, your dad would go, no, you're not. And you can kick and cry and scream, and you'll thank me when you're older. All right. And you do.
Yeah.
I'm still thanking my parents when I'm older. I'm 32, and I'm like, thank God, But it's even that is, these are all attacks at one thing, and truly one thing. And it's the nuclear family. Because just as we talked about, a belief in God would give you the backbone to stand up against the federal government. a strong nuclear family, a love for your mom, a love and respect for your dad, your brothers, your grandma and grandpa, that always helps you stand up to outside forces. You know, peer pressure when you're a kid. Well, my mom will get angry at me if I go smoke weed with you guys. To when you're an adult and you're in college. And I remember getting hazed as a pledge in a fraternity in South Georgia. And at one point I was like, hey, I gotta go study for a biology test. And they're like, if you walk out this room, you're cut. And I said, as scared as I am of you guys, I'm a lot more scared of my dad. And they respected that. And I ended up joining the fraternity. But like,
Mhm.
it allows you to stand up to things and go like, this isn't how I was raised. I know it's different. Well, what
Mhm.
happens when that's not how you were raised? What happens when you were never given a fair shake, when you didn't have my parents are still together and I still am beneficial for it?
Mhm.
What happens when you don't have anything close to that? And then one step further, what happens when you don't even have this solidity or the confidence in knowing that I'm Tommy Carrigan and I'm a male? Well, what happens when well, I don't have genitals? Well, what am I? Am I a freak? What am I? Am I abused? Am I an idiot? I got duped. How come nobody stuck up for me? And that turns into anger of where were you? Why did you allow this to happen? And it's the complete weakening at every possible level, not just from the strategic oil reserve to vaccine mandates to no border to de-dollarization to censorship. It is a multi-pronged attack from every conceivable angle at all that is good and independent and self-loving about not just America, but about the world. Now, granted, we're not covering the world, we're covering Mississippi, but that's what this is. And it's nothing short of that. And if you can't look at a child being coerced into having a surgery that statistically they're going to regret, and statistically they're at a much higher chance of suicide. If you can't go step in, then you're a coward. At best case scenario, you're a coward. More likely, you're complicit. And that is your responsibility as a human. You can't depend on someone else to do it. You do have to stand up and do the right thing. Someone has to step in and go, it's like the bystander effect. They say in a city, if somebody's on the ground getting beaten up, the vast majority of people will just walk by versus you go to like a smaller town, people rush in and go, what are you doing? We're witnessing the bystander effect. Well, it's not my kid. And we're watching evil happen and you're complicit if you don't do anything. So I'll tie that back into that's why you got to step up and do something. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it boils down to our, just goes back to, I believe this country was founded by God himself with a few good men. I really do. And I believe our country has been blessed because men and women all over this great nation and in Mississippi, right here in the Bible Belt, we're the center of the Bible Belt. They've lived by the standards of the Bible, which just to boil it down as simple as can be, it's just doing to your neighbors, you'd have them doing to you.
The golden rule.
You don't lie, steal, cheat, etc. To anyone, including your neighbor. And so, that's what that's what's blessed our nation. Our God has blessed us because of that. And so I feel strongly about that. And if you look at the Constitution, well, just look what Benjamin Franklin said when he came out of the room. I don't know the full, there's different stories on how it occurred, but I guess the best one I like to say, a lady asked him, what do we have, doctor? I guess they called him doctor. And he said, well, we have a republic
Republic,
if you
if you
can
can
keep it.
keep it.
And, same way with Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers. He said that for tyranny to take foothold, the only thing it needs is for good men and women of good conscience not to stand up, but to stay silent. And so that's the first thing is our voice, and it's important. And we're losing our voice. That's the first amendment on the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech. And that's what's so amazing to me is, I grew up, I was young in the 70s, but we're all these liberals that believe in free speech, that it's now getting squashed. I guess if it's, as long as they have free speech, it's okay, but it's not free speech for everybody. And so, certainly, we saw it through COVID. If you didn't go along with the narrative, then you were silenced, not just as a doctor, but I mean, as a journalist, as anybody that had a differing opinion than what Dr. Fauci had. And, they were silenced, cut off of Twitter, YouTube. I think you got canceled right when Dr. Peter came on, right? You got
Yeah.
canceled. I remember that.
Yeah. That was early. That was August 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was one of the first casualties. But yeah, that is, you go, where's that classical liberal, the, you know, don't trust anyone over 30, don't trust the man. Well, this isn't, well, we're not dealing with classical liberals. We're dealing with communists.
Yeah.
It's a slander to say they're liberal. It's no, it's free speech so long as I agree with it. And ultimately it is that. We can't complain about where we are if we're not willing to do something. You can't look at it falling down around you and saying, this is disgusting. I can't. You can't look at your apartment and go, this place is so gross. And it's like, yeah, dude, well, you live here. Clean it up. It's it's that simple. And it's we can fix it now. It's still fixable. But
Mhm.
we're never going to get this chance again. You're never going to get a continent separated by two oceans with two mountain ranges defending it, full of resources. You're never going to get that again. That is you went to the casino and you pulled the lever and you got 7 sevens. You're not getting it again. And I can't help but think that it's not an accident that we're here in this life faced with this challenge. I think that I think we're being forced with challenges. Is You're a doctor, you went to medical school. They don't give you easy questions. They give you difficult questions to see if your brain works. I think we're here to see if our soul works. I really do. I think this life is a test. And I think it's to see, can you do it? Can you stand up even when you're scared, even when you're uncertain, even when you feel ostracized and outcast? And, you know, I I'm a perfectionist. I want to pass the test.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you here. I mean, I grew up with pretty simple terms. My dad was a elementary education school teacher. He was actually hit by a car when he was 5, and so
Oh,
he was paralyzed on his left side.
oh,
He could walk, but he had a limp, and he couldn't use his left arm.
holy crap.
But it didn't stop him. He was he never felt sorry for himself, and he never let anybody, including me, feel sorry for him. Of course, I had a chip on my shoulder growing up, but I learned as that he lived he was very thankful to have lived the life he did.
Hmm.
He was able to get married, have 3 children. All those children had children, and would have grandchildren. My mother's still alive; she's 84, but he passed away about 20 years ago. He was 66, and he fell a lot all of his life because he refused to slow down. He wouldn't use a cane. He wouldn't use anything. He was just a go kind of guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't teaching school. He'd worked at the local gas station where you sit in there and take up money. He was real outgoing. He loved people. Everybody in town knew him. He was just a fun. Everybody knew Mr. Witcher, and so he loved sports. When he was young, he'd referee uh, basketball games, football games, baseball games. He'd do it all. I mean, I can remember seeing him run up and down the football field when I was like 6. He must have been early 30s, refereeing high school football games. He just loves sports. Matter of fact, he got a scholarship to college to be the trainer for the baseball team at Mississippi College. But he went on to get he got but yeah, so he was a great guy. And, I learned from him that, never give up. And my mother, she's like I said, she's still alive. She was born premature in 1939, weighing under 3 pounds. And so they didn't expect her to live. She did. Her dad was an engineer and from Mississippi State. Her uncle, his brother, was a doctor from Ole Miss. That's the only doctor we have in our family. But I didn't get to meet either one of those. But my mother, they saved my mother's life. Built the incubator in 37. She's legally blind because of some of the, being born. And she's got a little cerebral palsy. But she never worked outside the house. She raised us 3 children. And, we had a pretty simple upbringing as far as our house went and, what we had stuff wise, but, we had a lot of love. My dad was a lay minister in the church there. We were there every time the church doors opened. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. We were all involved in church, choir, summer camps. And that's just the way we grew up. But, so I have a strong work ethic. We me, my brother, and my sister, we all were working at very young ages. I worked in a shrimp factory. My brother, his first job was at a little gas station, Kmart. My sister, same way. So we all grew up working. We all still working today, and we're just but we've had bumps in the roads, right? I mean, just like you talked about, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect either. Okay. And that's something else we haven't heard from these politicians in a long time is, they want to act like they're perfect. And, they're human beings. None of us are perfect. And, so instead of making promises and lying and saying, well, and going back on, well, they don't ever go back on their word. They don't ever admit they were wrong. Right. It doesn't make any sense. We need somebody in there that's transparent, that's real, that knows what life's about, that has had problems, has had a normal life, and just can help others overcome. Okay, we want to be overcomers. We want to get better each day as we move along, and because I mean, I'm a devout Christian. I believe that I believe this life's a vapor compared to all of eternity, and I believe, much like you said, this is a test. We're here to reach out to others and to spread the gospel of the good news of Jesus Christ and let people, hopefully all people accept that route. And so we're going to all be out of here one day into a better place. But in the meantime, we've got to work to make this the best place it can be. We got to defeat evil at all costs and in every way. And, that's what, and we can do it, we can do it. Crime's too rampant. There's always going to be crime among us, but just like, in these other things that the other side wants to push is these things that don't make any sense. Like, no bail for people that commit crimes. Okay. So we're going to eliminate the bail. We're going to eliminate jail cells. We're going to defund the police, but no, we don't believe in any of that. We believe in, backing the police. We believe in teaching our kids to respect the badge. We believe that, believe that you have to have law and order in a society. And we believe in capital punishment. If you murder somebody, and by the way, drug dealers are murderers in many cases, these drugs that are being pushed on our children with fentanyl from crossing the border in different places, it's laced with different things. I have seen a lot of people overdose in my years working these ERs. It's real, it happens. And so no, we need to, we have a big problem with drugs everywhere, just like the whole but right here in Mississippi, we can stop it by stopping these drug dealers.
I saw a great bumper sticker the other week. Or no, it wasn't. It was like the entire back of a truck and just said, "Kill your local heroin dealer." And it's like, hey, man, there's a difference between you're 18 and you're getting some weed and watching a movie with a friend. You're by proxy, you're killing people. You're dishing out fentanyl. You're a killer. Or if you murder someone, you're a murderer. And if you harm a child, I think you forfeited your right to to operate in this world. And that sucks, you know. I don't
Well, I mean,
well
that's
no,
a
I
good.
mean it sucks in the idea that like, no, this isn't a perfect world, but man, you forfeited your right. You harm a child. That's
Well, we got,
no, that's death. I'm sorry, but that's death.
we'd have a lot less crime. I mean, look at places like Saudi Arabia. I mean,
Yeah, man.
you
They
don't
don't
steal over there. I mean, they come
no
around and
you
cut your hand off.
they'll cut your head off.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So I mean, we have to set examples. So, that's how you decrease the crime rate. Right here in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, our capital, we lead the nation in homicides per capita
good
right now.
lord.
So we're always in the top, but we just took the lead. And so, and we're not going to put up with that. We're going to stand up against the tough on crime and push back.
Dr. Witcher, where can people support your campaign?
They can go to witcherforgovernor.com and
I
they can
will
go there. And, I appreciate what we're trying to do is, we're not going to win this race on the status quo, the insiders, the big money givers, the donors, because I mean, truth be known, they don't want me in there.
of course.
Okay.
Of
They
course not.
know that I'm not going to cater to them and their little organizations and this and that and whatever. So I'm looking for donations from patriots, those $10, $20 donations that want to see the governor, want to see another governor that'll stand up, because that's really, we need multiple states all over for governors that take a stand and create a free state. Free state, whether it be the free state of Florida, free state of Texas, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, South Dakota, up there with what's drew a blank. What's her name? You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I'm drawing a blank too.
Yeah, she pushed way back against the central bank digital currency, and but yeah, we need all these states to stand up and create free states, to push back against the federal government and against the tyranny. And it goes all the way up. We know that it doesn't stop in Washington, D.C. This goes all the way to the globalists, right? The World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization. If it's left up to Biden and them, they're going to create another scenario where they can lock us down. And it's not necessarily going to be a pandemic, although it could be. Could be another virus, but it could be something as simple as, climate
Oh
disruption.
yeah.
Not following the correct climate police guidelines.
Oh yeah.
We,
Oh
we
no.
eat, we're eating too much meat or something, so we're going to have to shut down for a while. They could do anything. And that's what they're pushing. That's going to be next month. They're going to try to push that out. They've already tried to push it once. They're trying to make it not where it's a treaty, because if it's a treaty, the Senate has to approve it, but they're going to make it some sort of an agreement such that they can just kind of push it out. So these are the kind of things at the state level we can push back. Okay. We can push back by creating laws. In Missouri right now, there's a law where, they're trying to put this mRNA technology into everything. Okay. There's the vaccines for the animals. They want mRNA technology. They growing food plants. They want to include mRNA technology. Milk, you may have just heard this. Dr. Peter McCullough was talking a lot about it, but they found a way where they can put this mRNA technology in milk and get into the body. Okay, so we don't, this mRNA technology is gene therapy. We don't want any part of it. It's not been, it's just, we think it's dangerous. And, so we're pushing back. Yeah.
Yeah, something's up, man. Something's up where all of a sudden this just has to go into everything. And the people that are pushing it are the same people that are saying that, we need a global digital currency and everyone needs to be tracked at all times, and that we need to have less people and you need to consume less. And have a smaller carbon footprint, and these are just coincidentally the same people that want to put this into. Yeah, man, at a certain point, you got to use your own critical thinking skills and be like, dude, something's up. When these people come out and tell you what they are and what their plans are and what they believe in, listen to them. You're getting a candid shot into their minds, and they don't have anything good in store. World Health Organization, the UN, the World Economic Forum, the Bank of International Settlements, the World Bank. None of these, none of these are on your side. They don't care about you and I. And you don't have to like it. You can roll your eyes. It is what it is, man. It's where we are, and there's really nothing left to do but to fight for, again, as you said earlier, eternal, eternality. This life is just is a wisp of a vapor. It's a reflection of an echo of a memory. This life is nothing. Just do the right thing. But Dr. Witcher, I will pull up your website right now. Witcher, is it Witcher 4, the number 4, or the word 4?
Yeah, the word for it,
Witcher
witchersforgovernor.com.
for
Yeah.
governor.com. Let me just make sure I have it correct. And I've got it. I'm going to put that in the description right now. Guys, if you can go, please go help out Dr. Witcher for his run. And Dr. Witcher, as always, my podcast is yours to use. I think I've been canceled from everything I can be canceled from, so we can say whatever we want.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So what I'll do on day one is Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be our Surgeon General in Mississippi. Yeah.
Awesome.
Just like we, Dr. Joseph Latipo is in Florida. We're going to have Dr. Peter McCullough right here in Mississippi. So that's my ace in the hole.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to immediately stop the shots, mRNA shots in Mississippi. We've already started that progress. And then we're going to immediately start investigating to sue Moderna and Pfizer for fraudulent advertisement. They lied. They said these vaccines were safe and effective, and they knew they were either safe or effective. So we're going to go after them. And we're also going to go after all mRNA technology, putting it in our food, in our plants. We're going to, I don't know if you know, but Del Bigtree and Aaron Siri sued. They were in Mississippi. Aaron Siri was. We had 7 families that Aaron Siri represented, because we have mandated vaccines for children in Mississippi to go to school. We're one of 6 states that mandate that. It's New York, California, several other northeastern states, and Mississippi. We don't fit into that, but it's a long story of how we got there. We actually are leading the nation with childhood vaccines. But anyway, this lawsuit came about yesterday, and this federal judge that's here in Mississippi, he said that those 7 families could have a religious exemption. So that set a precedent. So we believe that we're going to be able to change that law. We believe that we can stand on that precedence, but if not, as governor, I'll make sure we change the law that says all children in Mississippi can have a religious or moral exemption to be vaccinated and can go to school. So that's big. There's groups that have been working on that here for a decade. Childhood vaccines were never on my radar. I'm not a pediatrician. When my kids were little, there were only a few vaccines. Today, there's 72 shots. And that doesn't include the COVID shots that people have to take by the time they're 18. It's 21 different shots, 21 different vaccines, but 72 shots. Okay. And none of these have been studied. They're not being, that's a long story in itself, but they're not. I didn't realize it until COVID hit, looked into all the vaccines, and there's been children that have died and suffered with childhood vaccines, and the government pays them off and they can't talk about it. That's why we don't hear about personal testimonies. And so we're pushing back, and we're going to push back on these people that are vaccine injured with the COVID as well. We're not going to let the government pay them pennies and not be able to talk about it, because that's what they're already trying to do that. And also anybody that's died suddenly in Mississippi and they've been vaccinated with COVID, we want autopsies. And so we're going to demand that. And that's just for starters. You know, we're going to do a lot. We're going to, as a doctor, I'm going to fight back against this whole woke healthcare system we have. And as a parent, grandparent, I'm going to fight back against this woke educational system we have. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to fight. And, you know, we have, that's why on the, like you said earlier, you know, many politicians talk big talk and they get in there and don't do anything. So what I'm doing on the campaign trail is I'm not holding back. Okay. I don't want anybody to vote for me that's going to say, well, what do we vote for? I'm totally transparent. If you vote for me, you vote for a fighter, somebody that's going to shake them up down there. I'm not going to be a status quo. I'm not going to be their friend. You know, we're gonna bust them up, and I'm going to expose a lot of corruption. We have corruption right here in Mississippi, just like every state has, and we could go into that later. But anyway, we're gonna make government small again and make the people big again.
I love it, Dr. Witcher. You're doing God's work, and that'll be awesome. Put Dr. McCullough in there. That's a force to reckon with. And hopefully by then my podcast will be even bigger, and you guys can use it as your press conference room, and I will reap the full benefits from that selfishly. Dr. Witcher, thank you so much, sir. I'm gonna put the link to the website in the description. Go throw them a couple bucks. Obviously, you have my number. I'd love to do another one if you want to get into other topics or tackle them or whatever. It's free to, obviously you have my show. Please use it as a come out and say whatever you want, and you can point people back to it and say this. I'm consistent. So thank you so much, sir. You're doing the Lord's work, and you have my full support.
Appreciate you, Tommy.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, brother.
Yes, sir. God bless, Dr. Witcher.